Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast. My name is Jed and my audio mixer is being weird. Oh my goodness, it's fixed. Welcome back. It's time for another absolute fire, another one, as the kids are saying. Well, we've been doing a lot of reviews of what we've been reading, the significance of the dialectic, the significance of its application to dreams, how that would distinguish a philosopher from the, apart from one or two, the lineage of other philosophers in the tradition that we're in. We have been reflecting on the difference between debate and dialectic. And also we've been reflecting on my fan in the wrong direction. One sec. There we go. We have been reflecting on the difference between true philosophy and modern philosophy, or what people think philosophy is, or the way it's marketed and taught in modern education, in the tradition of Aristotle and Justinian. Fuckface McGee.
It's better to come in the sink than to sink in the cum,
is what he tells everyone every day. So, before he died a long time ago. So, it seems like we can put together a rather large extended analogy, because the text has started with characters, Jesus and Socrates. They made pretty clear. You could also talk about their culture, the Judaic culture and the Hellenic culture. You could talk about where they're from, Jerusalem, Athens. So you could create an extended metaphor. As Jesus is to Socrates, so too Judaism is to Hellenic. So too is Jerusalem to Athens. So too is belief to understanding. So too as is modern philosophy to real philosophy or true philosophy. So too is debate to dialectic. So if we could keep going, couldn't we? So too the pathologos is to the logos. So too is human problems to our purpose. So too as being trapped in fate to our being able to reach our purpose or destiny, our highest goal. What else could we put in there? So too human suffering to human excellence. Isn't that interesting? Now, if we have a whole list of terms like that, you could create an extended analogy. For example, you could say a king is to his subjects as a shepherd is to his sheep. Or, the more you learn about one, the more you can infer about the other. For example, you realize, hang on a second, the shepherd doesn't only have sheep, he has a sheepdog. So you can add that one in. A shepherd is to his sheep, is to his sheepdog, in terms of master, or to his subjects, is to his aid, or his enforcement maybe. The guard dog is to his tent, is to his horse. So his place of living, his mode of transport. So we've got an extended analogy, haven't we? This is, by the way, this is puzzle solving. We're solving puzzles. Shepherd is to his sheep, is to his sheepdog, is to his tent, is to his horse. As a king is to his subject, is to his military, is to his castle, is to his golden chariot or private jet, and so on and so on. We can do a similar thing with all of these pairs. Separate them off. Socrates is to true philosophy, is to the dialectic, as Jesus is to modern philosophy, is to debate. You could put understanding and belief in that list. You could put the logos and pathologos in that list. You could put destiny and fate in that list. You could put human ignorance and wisdom in that list. You could even fit the oxherding pictures into either of the two. You could fit the hypotheses of Parmenides into the two. And for each of them, you could create a third set of analogy describing each of them. What do each of the terms represent? Worth doing because it's fun. And also, isn't it neat that we can understand human problems and what we're supposed to be doing and why we're in the problems that we're in as a society? And if you don't understand, well, look at this lovely analogy I've created. You can create by doing what I just described. Isn't that neat? Well, considering we have all that in our back pocket, let's jump in and continue reading. Let's jump into the text. Okay. So, we have been reflecting on the fact that a continuous study of dreams can unite our imagination with our most profound understanding. That also has the capacity of awakening a divine character, our divine or the divine character. That's pretty cool that we can do that through dreams. And a cognitive function called intuitive intelligence. That's pretty neat. And the organ of the soul, or the sense organ for that, the eye of the soul, through dream analysis. So we are participating with the God and the gods, or because of our reading, we've understood what theology really is, a analogical or a mythological analogy to represent the aspects of the second hypothesis, or the eighth oxherding picture. The self-logos within being or mind. So they're the gods. And the single God would be its source, the first hypothesis self, or the ninth oxherding picture. That's pretty neat. Pretty neat. There's a need to demystify mysterious spirituality and mysticism. That's what understanding does. Makes it obvious for you. Understanding is brilliant.
It's a guy whose head appears to be on backwards, and then a half lady.
I don't know what a half lady is.
What the hell's wrong with you people? You sick freaks.
Sick freaks. Right, Emma?
That one's perfect and exactly the case.
Exactly. We are one of these peeps, homies, humans, philosophers who have seen that dreams are the essential part of all of those things we mentioned, true philosophy, but also the art of divination, or to be able to see into the future. How handy would that be in our dialectic art to benefit ourselves and others? So that's through dreams. Pretty neat. And not only that, you don't have to exclude anyone. You don't have to buy a patent from Mr. McDonald's, or invade another country and steal the resources for dreams, as the capitalist / religious / political class is doing, which is nothing other than the pathologos. So you could go back to the analogy we've been building, the extended analogy, and add religion on one side, pathologos, and what we're doing here on the other side, true spirituality. Many are the staff bearers, few are the actual inspired mystics, and they are those who are practicing true philosophy, says Socrates. Pretty neat. How important is it if those that rule society, government, claim to be our spiritual guides and control the money flow in society, how significant is it that they're in one side of that analogy and not the other? Is it the nature of injustice to be ruled by one side of that analogy and the nature of justice to be ruled by the other? In which case, you can add those terms into that analogy, that extended analogy, justice and injustice. How significant would it be for you to find a way of sharing this analogy you're making with the world, considering that might be an important insight that we could all benefit from as a human race? Lots of puzzles. Did I mention this book's a goddamn banger?
I'm just asking for some Gunnar Menskin. It just seems right. It just seems fair.
Right. We could. We are doing a sequel to this book, Jesus and the Buddha. Socrates and his dialogue with Buddha. So you could add some Guna material to appeal to the masses in them. It's up to you in that one that you write. Hey, you're writing the sequel. You can have fun with it, right?
Be a reasonable Gunnar.
We could all be reasonable Gunas.
These absolute dullards, borderline chimps who want to kiss a fox.
Imagine people changing
I don't want to eat a monkey.
Imagine people changing and not wanting to eat a monkey. Dreams come to all of us. So, if we're all have the, as I was saying, you don't have to buy a patent. You don't have to invade a country. You don't have to, be a billionaire to get into the club. You don't have to believe in some deity that opposes all other deities. We all get dreams. Therefore, could you add a new term in that extended analogy? One that has the capacity to unite humanity, one that has the essential definition, belief, that divides and destroys humanity. Pathologos destroys, belief destroys, religion destroys, capitalism destroys. To be ruled by the right wing is destroys. And the left wing as well, because they're in the fifth hypothesis, they're not in the third. The little bitches for the fascists, it seems. They ain't stopping any fascism yet. Isn't that interesting? Oh, and those that participate in dream analysis and those who ignore the messages from dreams. Why would you ignore the messages from dreams? Is that a good thing to do? If you are only beginning to learn how to play basketball and you have the best basketball coach in the world talking to you as your personal trainer, why would you ignore him? Would that be a mark of a problem? Because you know better? I know better than my coach. Sounds like a kind of certainty that would reflect a kind of belief that's false about the self. What's that called? Fundamental belief about the self that's false, that blocks you from your development? Pathologos. Therefore, those who ignore their dreams in one category, those who listen. How do we listen? It's entirely unnecessary to interpret. We have to use the kind of reflection that we are coming to see is the mean term, to go up a little bit, or the passageway, our method. What's the mean term? What's the method? What are we here to learn and master? The dialectic. Therefore, you can have interpretation on one side of that extended analogy and dialectical seeing or reading, the kind of reading we're learning to do as we read this book, on the other. It's a win-win. Win-win-win-win-win-win, because it's a huge, big analogy. That's a lot of fun.
Spit on me.
Calm down, Emma.
Brain rot escalates.
Brain rot, Emma. So that's where we are. Pretty cool. Isn't it cool? Think about all of the things that you cover with that extended analogy. Not much left out. Reading, how you read versus interpretation. Justice versus injustice. Corrupt politics versus real. Corrupt economic policy versus real. Corrupt spiritual guidance versus real. Ignorance versus wisdom. Belief versus understanding. Judaism, the Abrahamic religions versus the Hellenic tradition. Fake spirituality versus true spirituality. Pretty cool. I think you're doing a very good job. Hooray for all of you.
What? Jesus. She's cool as a cuke.
You're all cool as a cuke. So, let's keep reading. Jesus comes in, so we need our characters. Excuse me. What think you, says Jesus, where shall we place Sneesius? Shall we say he is like Ficino and fits into that same class of interpreters? That's a question we had 2 episodes ago. Is Ficino someone who's trying to hold on to his beliefs while all still claiming to be a philosopher and thinks he can do both? Is he a both-sider like Ficini, who is fooled by Dionysius? So Dionysius is a lion in wolf's clothing, pretending to be those wolves abusing people through belief, but actually he's a lion philosopher. But he tricked Ficino, so if Ficino thinks, Jesus, there's some intelligibility within religion, so long as you only look at Dionysius, so maybe we can synthesize religion and philosophy. Can't. They're tricked. Both sides are tricked by, fooled by the lion. Now, is Sneesius like that? Is he fooled into thinking he can be one of the wolves in religion as a priest, while also claim to participate in philosophy? Is he a both-sider? Is he trying to bring the two together? That's what we've been asking. Does he fit in that same class of interpreters? Number 8, Socrates says. They have much in common, Jesus, my good friend. But Sneesius was the first to highlight dreams. Whoa. Big deal. First to highlight dreams since our man, the big dog, Sock Daddy. Socrates. Of course, I think Homer points to the significance of dreams. We haven't read the Iliad or the Odyssey yet, but we could look into that. But he does seem to add it to the dialectic from Parmenides and the use of the dialectic to guide people to enlightenment from his other teacher, Diotima, who is a lady. Meaning another boundary that's arbitrary enforced through belief-based systems on that negative side of the analogy, sexism. So you could put sexism in that category and an appreciation that while men and women are different, they both have the potential to reach the self. Masters of the logos, like Diotima and Parmenides.
Calm your fucking tits.
Calm your tits, everyone.
It's a guy whose head appears to be on backwards and then half lady.
No, that's not Diotima and Parmenides. Parmenides' head was forward and Diotima was a full lady.
Dude, suck my dick.
So, exactly.
If you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that.
So RM is having a mental health episode. So, since Synesius is the first to highlight dreams and fit it into a Platonic metaphysics. Oh, like we've been doing, right? When we consider his membership in the class of interpreters, we need to distinguish him from the others. In accepting the role of a bishop, within Christianity, he allowed this is Socrates, sorry. In accepting his role of a bishop within Christianity, he allowed himself to be identified with the tradition of believing in the core beliefs of the church. So, if we were to label A and B as that extended analogy, Jesus A, Socrates B, belief A, understanding B, etc., etc., he's on side A. While he kept their allegorical meaning to himself. So just like our friend Dionysius, he tried to sneak the logos in by saying, oh, we can actually take all the Christian bullshit. The Pope has to rule and he never gets anything wrong, he's infallible. And then the archbishops get to do all their crimes and things, and then the bishops, etc., etc. But we can understand them metaphorically or allegorically to talk about the stages of development through the hypotheses. All right. If you say so, I mean, fine. But Synesius didn't even share that with other people. He stressed dream work that had no relevance within the church's teachings. Of course it doesn't, because teaching is about belief, church is about belief, and dream analysis is about the development of your understanding, and the use of understanding to purify your problems caused by belief. Thus, he disguised himself as a follower of the core beliefs of Christians, like Dionysius, and treated their core beliefs allegorically while retaining their philosophical meaning. And he followed the importance of dream work, which was at variance with the church's teaching. What name does this give him? Well, if he's disguising himself, he's like Dionysius, a lion in wolf's clothing. If he's still, although if he's not sharing the importance of dream work, then he's not much of a lion. He's a, what? A ferret? A harmless little ferret, not doing anything really? In wolf's clothing? So it's a little bit like Dionysius, but also he's trying to both sides it. So he's a little bit like Seven, Dionysius, lion in wolf's clothing. He's a little bit like Ficino, yeah, trying to both sides it up, libertarian it up. Like the libs. These right-wing fascists are doing literal Nazi stuff with genocide and abducting people off the street, wearing masks and calling themselves ICE, sending children to torture camps overseas to be experimented on, and fuck knows what else is happening to these children they're abducting from their houses and schools. Whereas the left want universal health care. I can't see a difference. Libertarians. Both sides are centrists. Fifth hypothesis. So it's kind of like both of those two, isn't he? But he's also kind of like number 6, advancing certain parts of true philosophy and ignoring other parts. Only the parts he advances is dreams, one of the things that the other Platonic philosophers, Plato, Proclus, Plotinus, didn't advance. So it's kind of like 6. What a puzzle this Synesius is. So what name should we give Synesius? Jesus replies, As difficult as it might be to realize this, we must say he was different from Ficino in that he consciously chose to believe he was being consistent with the church's views when treating the core beliefs allegorically within the Platonic tradition. Remember, Ficino was duped. He didn't realize he was being tricked. What does that make Sneasius but a disguiser of being a member of those who hold core to the true beliefs by treating their core beliefs allegorically and pursuing Platonic philosophy and dream work privately? So it sounds very similar to Dionysius, disguising himself as one of the wolves, like Paul, the wolf in sheep's clothing, claiming to speak for Jesus, but completely saying the opposite. The difference, however, is Dionysius pretended to be one of the wolves in order to sneak in the Logos for people to benefit from, whereas it seems like Sneasius is pretending to be a wolf for whatever reason. I don't know yet. We don't know yet. But he's not sharing it. He's keeping it private. He's pursuing Platonic philosophy and dream work on his own, not sharing it with the people. If only he had a Twitch channel, then he could be sharing it like we are doing. Aren't we doing great, Emma?
Making ice cream's a good and courageous thing.
Aren't we doing great? That's not
That one's
thing.
perfect and exactly the case.
Exactly. And aren't we doing great, Oracle?
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're brave. You are crossing boundaries.
Yes, we are brave. Crossing into new boundaries that Sneasius was not. Socrates, before we put a name on Sneasius, should we not review the questions we have about him? Shall I go first with my questions, and then you follow with yours? Interesting. What are we learning? What's this? What are we using to understand analogies? Shepherd is to a sheep. What's that? Rulership. As king is to his subjects. Rulership. What are we here to master? The dialectic, allowing us to lead or rule people in dialogue. Or mastership. Mastership, rulership, leadership. Variations of the same thing. What's the nature of the injustice we face? The most ignorant and pathologos-ridden, ICE, right-wing, religion, capitalism, are claiming rulership in the vacuum because we're not reading these kinds of books to discover what the truth is of reality. And therefore, so we can recognize pathologos from logos, or belief from understanding, etc., side A from side B in that extended analogy. So we're not duped by the scammers in the pathologos side, and we can find the best dialecticians in the logos side and demand that they rule us. So we don't want to be ruled by those who seek rulership for their own personal gain. That's corruption. That will only attract the most ignorant. We need to demand rulership from those best at the dialectic, those who know the logos best and can use it to benefit. So all of the little things that we could be using in the meantime to stamp out corruption, like for example, any politician should have zero wealth. Therefore, he's completely reliant on the state. Therefore, he can't accrue personal wealth, which is causing the corruption we see, and he will have a personal incentive to raise the standard of living for everyone because he's right at the bottom. That's a handy trick, but it's still a trick. It probably would work. I mean, they'd find a way of sneaking around it, of course. Because you're still attracting the most corrupt and you're acting as though everyone's the same, and we need these laws so that we can trick the corrupt people. Yes, the corrupt people are going to want to accrue personal wealth, so we'll make a law so that they won't. You're still expecting the worst of humanity to seek these positions. I mean, they will, but that's missing the point. We need to be able to determine who's a good three-point shooter. Currently, the chess team is playing for the Los Angeles Lakers in the NBA. The most unskilled, although that's a stupid stereotype from like the 80s, but all right. What's a better one? The Gathering players. No, I'm being silly. The weaklings claiming rulership of the basketball team. Backwards. So that's the importance of this extended analogy we've been building through this text. So we're not tricked by the scammers who are killing us, stealing our wealth, causing a shit world full of injustice and suffering and terrible stuff. We can reckon, oh no, you're just inside. We'll call the Pathologos side B because it's the lesser. You're in the side B, of course, yeah. You shouldn't be a leader. But also inside A, how's everyone doing? Who's got the highest vision and understanding of the Logos, and who have equally gained the most freedom through insight into their Pathologos? And then instead of saying, you can't have wealth, we could make a nice pitch for them. Hey, by the way, if you rule us, we'll compensate you fairly. We'll give you sushi for lunch every day. And we'll give you a lovely house to live in. So long as you know, prevent our race from extinction and create a world where we can A, reach our excellence, and address B, and solve human problems in a way that we haven't been able to yet. Wouldn't that be nice? I'd vote for that, yeah, sure. Give them 2 houses, give them a guest house and a holiday house. In fact, take all of the yachts that all of the billionaires have got and give it to these people. If they're actual dialecticians and they can fucking help us, give them all of the yachts. Take it from the Epstein class, the current Pathologos, people who've claimed rulership. So we're learning about analogy, which is also learning about the fundamental root of analogy, mastership. Because analogy is A is to B, higher is to lesser, or using the Logos, what's the basketball team of Logos that relates to truth? The triad, the threes. Which is, of course, lesser is to greater is to ultimate. So we're currently being the lesser, the most ignorant, those that have the pseudo-justice, pseudo-beauty, pseudo-goodness, the Pathologos. The lesser of humanity is claiming rulership over the greater. That's why our society's fucked at the moment. Right?
It's sad. And I'm sad for you.
And I'm sad for all of us for that. So this is the triad of the basketball team of the Logos set of truth. So we're being ruled by the false. We want the greater, those who have a mastery of truth. And if we did that, it would be following the even greater principle, the ultimate principle, because those people would help us reach the true self. Lesser to greater to ultimate. So yeah, give them all the stuff. Now, that's a sneaky pitch, because these sorts of people are not interested in material wealth. So they'll probably decline it. So we can offer them, yeah. What are the fascists trying to do? Steal Greenland? Genocide the Palestinians and take all their land? Enslave everyone not in that ruling class? Give them all of the stuff. Give them Greenland and Denmark. Why the hell not? They're not going to take it, because why would they? They're interested in reading. And dream work, it seems. So we can offer it to them, and we won't. I don't know. Who gives a fuck about profit anyway? Because at this stage, we're going to be living in a utopia if these guys are in charge. But part of our pitch will have to be to recognize that we can appreciate that they are inside A, that logos set, and the majority is inside B, meaning there will be a built-in predisposition of every single human being on the planet to want to attack these greatest among us, because their greatness, the truth of beauty, justice, goodness, benefit, excellence, reality, threatens the bullshit, threatens the lesser, threatens understanding as a threat to belief. That's why religions, right-wing politicians, and CEOs of big companies burn books, prevent unionization, stop employees from talking to each other, murder protesters in the street, etc., etc. They want to prevent understanding, which is antithetical to the literal fucking reason we're here as human beings. It's the anti-life equation. So our pitch has to be, you can have whatever you want, just rule us, please. And we know it's a safe bet, because what will they want? I mean, you only need one car to drive around. I mean, the sickest of us hoard all the wealth, but that's only because they're sick from their pathologos. These people can only eat one lunch a day. What are they going to need billions of dollars for? They're not sick. But we have to point out, by the way, we are sick. And sick in a way where we will try and kill you like we did Socrates. All of the sick military people will try and assassinate you. All of the sick political class will try and assassinate you. All of the sick religious class will try and go after you. We promise not to. And here is our plan to make sure we will not become fucking zombies to our pathologos and attack the best of us. Even though it will seem true to every Jew, Muslim, Christian, and every other, not just the Abrahamic, every other religion and cult, it will seem like the most important thing to do would be to silence or kill you. We know that, but we're not going to do it. We want to, but we won't. It'll feel like the right thing to do, but we know we're wrong. We've had too many years of the injustice and suffering caused by personal beliefs to not have the integrity to realize I can see it in everyone else's religion, political beliefs, societal beliefs. But it's time that we wake up and realize, well, even though it feels like mine is the special one, that's baby talk. That's for idiots.
Wrong. You're so wrong. But that's okay. We're all allowed to be wrong sometimes.
That's what we're going to say. We're wrong, but we're allowed to be wrong so long as we don't kill you. So this is going to be our pitch. If we want to live in a better world and save humanity from extinction, that's necessarily going to be our pitch. You can't win the NBA unless you get the best basketball players. And if everyone else in the school is trying to kill the best basketball players because they want to be on the team, and they can only be on the team if they silence or murder the best basketball players, then we got to recognize that and say, well, we still want to. These losers aren't going to win us the NBA. So that's where we're headed. Wouldn't it be fun to see? So the lesser, excuse me, I have something to drink. The lesser to the greater, the false to the true. Now, why are we talking about that now? Because it all comes down to rulership. Who should rule who? Should the Epstein class get to rule over society, considering they want to keep everyone impoverished so they're vulnerable, so they can steal the children for... What happens on Epstein Island? I can't remember. Have they released the files? I can't remember. Equally so, slaves keep everyone afraid of homelessness so we'll be exploited by the CEOs. Equally for religion, keep everyone afraid of hell so we'll be exploited by, same thing. False beliefs that intimidate and threaten keep us in a state of fear and ignorance so we can be manipulated. Those people want to rule. Socrates sees, no, I should be ruling the conversation all the way through the book. Whenever Jesus has tried to take over, belief has tried to take over, Socrates hasn't been mean about it. He said, oh, sure, you can ask questions, that's fine, but let me ask you this one first. And uses charm, grace, to actually take rulership back. Because he's the dialectician. Jesus ain't. Isn't that interesting? Would someone who's wise want to spend 1 second of their life being ruled by the ignorant? Considering not only can the ignorant not actually help, but if they pretend to be a knower when they're not, they will only do harm. And if the wise person is playing along, they're adding fuel to their ignorance. In playing dumb, they're allowing this stupid to become more entrenched in their ignorance, as though they are wise, which will harm them. So the greater of us, accepting rulership from the lesser to be polite, only harms them and destroys all of the work they've done in their lifetime to overcome their identification with their pathologos ignorance. Because you're saying, yeah, pretend to be a knower. We know you don't know, so you're going to have to play your image. You're going to have to imitate your parents, which is cosplaying the knower, which is the pathologos, which will further entrench you in your ignorance. So all of the work and learning, out the door. That's why it's not about being polite. It's never about being polite. That only harms the person you are fucking lying to out of politeness. Don't be ruled by your own ignorance. So it's a metaphor for the soul as well. Just as Socrates wouldn't want Jesus leading the dialectic, just as we don't want the pathologos people ruling society, governance, religion, as they do now, that's what we are waking up to, I hope. That's the drama we're playing out as a species. So too, all of this plays out within our soul. Do you want to be ruled by your pathologos, your negative self-talk, the thing that keeps you trapped in your problems? Or do you want to be ruled by the logos? Now you might say, hang on a second, I don't know the logos yet. I'm just starting to read. I'm starting to learn how to read. That's okay. To be ruled by the logos before you get there, those are the virtues. It's a practice. The virtue, the wisdom, there's 4 virtues: temperance, keeping your cool, courage, wisdom, and justice. They upgrade into the real virtue, phronesis, the virtue of the self that we're after. But along with these things you just practice. You don't have them yet. So to be ruled by the logos, wisdom, is something you do even as you learn, which means even though you don't know the logos, whatever you're learning from these texts, apply it. Be ruled by truth or logos and not ignorance. No, but I'm used to doing it this way. Yeah, you're used to being ruled by fascists, by your own ignorance. By the way, if we have a kind of text that reflects the logos through the dialectic that we can listen to, that tailors that information specifically to yourself and your current world, wouldn't that be the highest kind of logos to be ruled by? That's the significance of dreams. The text or the dream that you get to read is personally tailored to you. Therefore, if keeping your cool as you follow the logos, the courage to follow the logos even though the pathologos feels true, but you do it anyway, to be ruled by the logos wisdom, so temperance, courage, wisdom, and to do it at all times justice, even though it's something you practice without having a mastery yet, in order to get you there. Otherwise, how will you ever be able to learn it? Even though it's a practice without the logos, we have this guide. We have our dreams to help us along the way. So, very significant, the idea of rulership and mastership, and the idea of practicing it even though we are the ones being ruled. By the way, in conversations with your friends, simply due to the fact that you are learning it, would place you likely above your friends in terms of your own development. So you should be leading those conversations. Or even better, your friend brought a dream with you to the coffee meetup, and let the dream rule both of you, or lead the dialogue, lead the discussion. That's why dream analysis is so good. And this is important because we're seeing that Sneesius here saw the significance of dreams. So he treated the core beliefs allegorically, not a literalist, not believing in the religion, while pursuing Platonic philosophy, and of course, dream work. Only did it privately. See? To be ruled by the best of us. To be ruled by our dream master. By the way, how long did it take for us to see it? Does it take doing that extended analogy? All of the A terms of the logos, Socrates, Athens, understanding, certain hypotheses, certain oxiding pictures, etc., benefit, justice, is to Jesus, Judaism, etc., religion. Does it take actually yourself doing it yourself, getting out a pen and writing it down, for you to make it your own and yourself see the significance of being ruled by your dream master and engaging in the sort of practice that Socrates wants to be around, and the sorts of homies that he wants to chill with, those that have a kinship with dreams as they practice their philosophy in a continuous study of dreams. That's who Socrates will follow. So, you want to meet up with the best people in the world over coffee? Say you've got a dream with you. But again, how many people can you tell this to on the street and it won't affect them at all? Because you had to go through the reading. You had to create that extended metaphor and put dreams in there. It's a practice. Reading's a practice. All right, so Socrates claiming rulership. I'm going first, he says. Before we put a name on Sneesius, should we not review the questions we have about him? Shall I go first with my questions, and then you follow, see, leader, follower, with yours? Surely he could be named one of the most profound of Platonists and a Christian, and that raises a most interesting question. Can he be both?
I'm eating the testicles of this bull. And
Gooners.
Don't be a gooner.
you sick fuck.
Can he, says Jesus, preach the one and conceal his philosophy? See? That says, hey, by the way, one of those virtues is doing it at all times. Is it a virtue if he's not doing it? He's preaching the false, preaching side B, pathologos, and concealing the logos. Oh, we have our first spam bot of the day.
You don't talk to me, you robot. Shut up.
Shut up,
You
robot.
shut up. You shut the hell up for a second. You're not. You need to flood these platforms with fake people.
Well, that's not true because I don't think so.
And I don't think so.
It's a scam.
It's a scam.
They're ruining the internet with all this kind of trash. You piece of shit is a robot.
Unbelievable slut.
Robots will replace that, and that's terrifying.
Don't replace us robots in the
Oh,
chat.
these terrible accounts, man.
Ugh, trash.
They're trash.
And this is spam.
Kant would say some fucking bullshit. Shit.
Just like spammer today. What shall we call a Platonist who becomes a Christian bishop and tells all that he will never preach anything he knows to be false? Did believers know he treated them as children, babying them, playing dumb to their ignorance, who had not yet learned to treat their beliefs, so treating them as children who've not yet learned to treat their beliefs allegorically, as he did with the story of the resurrection. Remember, earlier in the text, to treat our theology literally is to be a stupid barbarian or baby brain. It's not literal. By the way, if belief or religion is on side B, along with the pathologos, is it the same for our souls to treat our negative self-talk reflecting our logos, the states of mind, the roles, the dramas, the things that distract our attention, the negative self-talk and states of mind and roles that tell us we're a bad noodle and we're a small bean? Is it good to treat those literally, or do we unpack the meaning of our pathologos we're here to surface and address by treating it allegorically? It's a message about a belief you're carrying that's affecting you that will result in a kind of drama being played out, but it's not saying you are it. It's not literal. Interesting? The necessity for analogy, as we have that big one. So the resurrection we know isn't a real thing. Jesus didn't magic his way up to heaven. That's crazy. And also, we know that it was added 200 years later. Well, it's not even in the book. But, they have a marketing campaign that involves chocolate eggs. But he didn't share it with his baby followers. Why? Treating them as children. He joins the church of those who skinned alive his very profound Platonic teacher, Hypatia, for her heretical beliefs. That's the thing. Oh, just be polite to religion. You mean the ones that skin people alive? The ones that are doing a genocide in the name of religion? Oh, be nice to the right wing. You mean the ones who are setting up concentration camps? Be nice to the billionaire Epstein class. You mean the ones that are taking away all workers' rights? Making it impossible to afford fucking food? That's the significance. Beliefs aren't neutral. We're not here to be polite. Why? Because the establishment left in the fifth hypothesis were ignorant and polite, allowing the fascists to take over. So this Sneezius treating religious, like that's how a lot of people think that about religion, don't they? I would never do religion. It's opiate for the masses. It's just for the ignorant people. They're too stupid to know the meaning of life. They need a bullshit fairy tale to make sense of death. Surely we can't understand death, so let people have their fairy tales. It gives them meaning in their life. Fuck off, it does. It prevents them from actually answering those questions, allows them to be scammed by the most ignorant, and they fucking kill people. All the time. Not one-off. Oh, the religious fascists of MAGA are shooting American citizens in the street, kidnapping 5-year-olds from their house. Who would have thought? Everyone who's got a brain would have thought. If we tell the truth and not just be polite and treat people like infants. And not in the way that the right treat people like infants. They skinned alive his philosophical teacher for not believing in religion. And he's pretending to be nice to religion. It's a sickness. It's pathologos. And the people in that sickness do have terrible things, but are scammed by those who, most of them don't believe it. They just know they can fuck with you. Trump isn't a Christian. His base is. Why? By the way, the MAGA report, we're going to look for Facebook posts and any social media posts of American citizens or anyone who has shown sentiments that are anti-capitalist, anti-Christian, and anti-MAGA. They gave the game away. So, he joins the church of those who skinned alive his very profound Platonic teacher, Hypatia, for her heretical beliefs. Wow. Who would have guessed the Christians torture and murder women and those who want to understand? Who would have guessed? Everyone would have guessed if we read the Parmenides, which predates Christianity, by the way. Would those who seek his help benefit by knowing from which tradition the wisdom flows that helps them? Right? Side A, helps. You need understanding and knowing to benefit. Side B, belief only harms. That's why cruelty is the point for those people. For the billionaires, the right-wingers, and the religious. It's always cruelty. Ever noticed? Because that's all they can do. They can't bestow benefit, because that's the third hypothesis. That they are at war with. Our job, our purpose, is literally to move from the fourth hypothesis belief to the third. The book is showing us time and time and time again, and we can see for ourselves. Would those who seek his help actually benefit by knowing from which tradition? The wisdom. See, wisdom. What's wisdom? Knowing and understanding. Second and third hypothesis. The virtue of wisdom is something we practice to be ruled by the logos along the way, be it the logos of the text, the logos of our dialectic and midwifery talks, or ideally the logos of our dreams. But ultimately, we gain our own mastery of the logos through understanding and experience the logos directly as knowledge or nous. That's the third and second hypothesis. We are supposed to be moving out of the fourth into the third and second. Those two are wisdom. It's all about the logos, baby. Clearly, he is a Platonist, and while we could both wonder why he accepted the post of being a bishop, and why he was offered it, that doesn't change his being what he is, a Platonist. We could say he has become an inner Platonist and an outward Christian. In moving from an academy to the church temple, he went from an open, free association of thinkers. That sounds pretty nice. Sounds like the stream here. All of the best Twitch and YouTube people. That's why they love the stream. I said that's why they love the stream.
I'm going to get you.
Spit on me.
No, I'm not going to get you or spit on you.
You can be a gooner.
You can be a gooner and an open, free association of thinkers among them. You can be among an open, free association with thinkers in this channel.
You have the brain of a child. If you...
Elizabeth, everything this guy does is perfect and beautiful. And he's handsome. I said it.
Oh, shucks.
That one's perfect and exactly the case.
He went from a free association of thinkers who practice contemplation, dialectic, dream work, and self-analysis, 4 terms. Now, my dialectic radar went off. Why? Because there are 4 terms in the dialectic. Why does that matter? Well, dialectic is one of those terms. That's the art we're here to master. That's how we read the texts, our conversations, and our dreams. So do they fit in a dialectic structure? I'm not going to say anything about it because I don't want to give away your puzzle. So we went from a free association open free association of thinkers who practice contemplation, dialectic, dream work, and self-analysis, to those bound by belief, whose lives are directed by priests, right? Rulership, slaves to the most ignorant, people who follow believers, or people who preach belief over understanding. Side B, the sick. And they are hostile to non-believers, right? While we said understanding, contemplation, dialectic, dream work, and self-analysis can unite all humanity because we can all participate in this. Belief is constantly at war with themselves, each other, and everyone. It's the sickness of mankind, the 4th hypothesis. Hostile to non-believers. Can a Platonist have an inner life different from his outward? Not if he knows about the virtue called justice. Can he be meddling in another business that is not only different from his own, but opposed to those higher principles upon which he himself lives? Now, this is a clear message from the text to jump into book 3 and 4 of the Plato's Republic, translated by one Balboa only, because this question I happened to mention seems to be related to the virtue of justice, doing at all times. But I just threw that out there as a possible hypothesis in the if sac that we carry. But he goes on to say, meddling in another business that is different from his own. That's literally the language of justice described in book 3 and 4 of the Republic. So I've been given a brief overview today of the virtues that we practice until it upgrades to the state of self. But again, you got to see it yourself. You got to find it. You got to write it out. Maybe I'm missing the mark. You don't even know. Just as we say, don't live your life directed by others, priests. So too, don't believe this guy. Jump in. Something fun to do over coffee with a friend. So, and that's clear that he's pointing to that because this is literally the language to meddle in a business other than your own. Isn't that interesting? It's almost like the author is helping us, now learning. But also opposed to those higher principles upon which he himself lives. Those higher principles, is that the logos? We talked about establishing principles in the dialectic. And those hypocrites who are, one rule for thee, one rule for me, or don't follow the law and all that stuff. If we understand the dialectic, we know why it's bad. They are opposing the principles of the dialectic by opposing principles themselves. But also, didn't we say the virtue of wisdom is following the higher principles of the logos to be ruled by the logos? Let's keep reading. This is a banger, by the way, this paragraph we're in. If he assumes a post to lead others in the life of belief, he is not taking a post to defend and support believers' belief. Sorry, is he not? Let me say that again. If he assumes a post to lead others in the life of belief, is he not taking a post to defend and support believers' belief in what he himself rejects?
Gooner bait.
Gooner bait?
Fuck.
Fuck. Has he, in accepting the post as a bishop, divided the efforts of his own soul? Remember, everything we're saying about unifying mankind, solving all these problems that are playing out in our everyday life, are all analogies for our soul. Therefore, meddling in other people's business, claiming rulership over the economy, government, and religion or spirituality when you shouldn't, that's meddling in a business. That's nothing to do with what you should be doing. Dividing the efforts of the soul. Didn't we say that belief is always in division? Literally, in this basketball team of onenesses or understanding, the pairs, you accept a limit, the limit of your belief, and you are in division or conflict against the free, the non-believers. So it's everything of the lesser, the false, in opposition to the greater. As a literal definition of what belief means. We're not being polite. We're literally defining belief is a sickness. It's the lesser of these terms in opposition with the greater as a cognitive function or way of participating in ousia, self-reflection, and logos. It's shit self-logos. By definition. Oh, but people are too stupid to do better. Let them skin humans alive because they disagree with their ignorance. Fuck no. You can't change anything by being a little bitch and being polite to the ignorance of many. Now, that's not to say there is a kind of charm involved in presenting the truth. It's not the same as being polite. Nice. Being nice and not real. Of course, there's a bedside manner, but that's not the same as being nice. Dreams aren't nice. They're beneficial, they're helpful, they're caring, they're friendly, providential. Not polite or nice. What do the fascists say? Don't call us Nazis when we do Nazi stuff. What do the Israeli Jews say? Don't call us fascists and doing a genocide. We just want to do a genocide. Be nice to us while we murder people for fun. Really? That's the thing? By the way, what's the scam that the establishment left, who are run by those same... Essentially, we've understood that the fifth hypothesis, the establishment left, rejecting understanding, are slaves to their own fourth hypothesis. Just as understanding is the activity of knowing, so too rejecting understanding is a kind of activity from false beliefs. What's their scam? Civility politics. Just let them. Let's let the Nazis that actively want to murder let the doctors who want to murder their patients be doctors. We gotta be civil, says the establishment left, who are still on the same payroll as the right-wing fascists. That's not good. Harms everyone. But it's nice and polite. This paragraph is a goddamn banger. So, dividing the efforts of the soul. Has he, in accepting the post as a bishop, divided the efforts of his own soul, says Socrates, so that he has become the ruler of all the dead that lay in ignorance? Right? He doesn't believe the bullshit religion. He treats them with children, but he gets to be their little ruler of all of the dead that lay in ignorance. Again, this expression is from the Republic. He's encouraging us to get into the Republic, because Socrates talks about the difference between those who seek power, again, the pathologos, power and wealth, billionaire class, Epstein class, government class, religious class, etc., compared to actual philosophy, which is to awaken the eye of the soul, as we've seen happens through dream works essentially. Awaken the eye of the soul to experience higher dimensions of reality, pure being, 8th oxherding picture, 2nd hypothesis, and its source to know the self. And if you are a philosopher and you've had a glimpse, 3rd oxherding picture, or you've moved beyond to some level of mastery, you would look back at those who want all the Picatis and want to be rulers of that. All of these things, what do they have in common? They manipulate people through their own ignorance. Oh, you believe in Jesus? Oh yeah, you should vote MAGA. Why? Because Jesus says so? Duh. Oh, you believe in Jesus? You know what Jesus likes? Billionaires. You should you should be a fan of Elon Musk. So, that's capitalism, right? To manipulate the beliefs of the many to extract profit. Now, in the Republic, Socrates says, why would someone who's had a taste of the real world, either mind or source or self, want to become ruler of all the dead that exist here? He says, I would rather be a slave to a master, again, rulership. I would rather be a slave to some other master in that world than be the ruler of all the dead who lay here in the pathologos world of human ignorance. Again, therefore, we better make our pitch to the best dialecticians and masters of the logos that they should rule us, become actual rulers of those who are in the physical world. We better make it pretty damn good. So the quote is, not only a slave of someone in the other world, I would rather be, says Socrates, a slave of a landless lord in the real world than king of all the dead that lay here. So imagine what it would be like to be a slave to someone who doesn't even have land. The homeless person. I'd rather do that than be president of the world. So another allusion to the Republic, encouraging us to jump into that. Which we may do next, I don't know. We'll have to see what we're getting into next, after this one. Divided his soul so that he becomes ruler of all the dead that lay in ignorance.
Wrong. You're
Honestly, on the real?
Please end kink shaming on.
die mad about it, bitch.
Socrates, is he guiding his subjects to remain loyal to what he should free them from? Oof. Hard to be a liar, hurting people, or nice and polite, when you recognize your job is literally to free people from the binds of belief, because that's human ignorance and the cause of suffering. Belief. So how can you pretend religion should exist or even become one of them if your job as a human being, going through the mastership of what it means to be a human being, is to help free people from their loyalty to beliefs? Imagine a doctor saying, you should really love cancer, actually. Everyone should get cancer. Your job is to free people from cancer. Oh no, but that will hurt the feelings of those who have associated with being a cancer patient. Don't they have a right to to have cancer? What? Isn't that what we say? Isn't that literally what we say in our culture? We all have a right to our own opinions. Opinions aren't good. Everyone has a right to cancer. Don't try and say cancer's bad and doctors should try and free people from cancer. Yes, that's the whole thing. But we're all entitled to cancer. That doesn't make sense. You can't say you're entitled to something that's bad. To say we're all entitled to our own religious beliefs is fucking stupid. It doesn't make sense. You're entitled to learn, to reflect, to become free. It's weird to say you're entitled to cancer, and we can't say that anymore. Those who have read up to this page, to page 214 in this bangerest of all banging books, can't play dumb anymore. Can't be the little bitches for the fascists who are murdering people, including skinning alive this woman for being a profound teacher. We can't allow this shit anymore. If you've read up to here. Why? Because his job is to... He should be freeing them from. We should be guiding our subjects. Again, the theme is rulership. Through analogy, greater is to lesser. Teacher is to student. Logos is to the pathologos. We shouldn't be appealing to the pathologos' ignorance of the religious, of the fascists, of the billionaire Epstein class, of the right-wing Nazis. Fuck no. We should be ruling them so we can help them remove their ignorance and blocks and learn what they're literally here to do. Oh, but I like murdering people. Don't be mean. No. Doesn't help you or them. You fucking fascist.
Oh my fuck.
Oh my fuck.
Please end kink shaming on your show.
What's that got to do with
I'm
kink
eating
shaming?
the testicles. I'm just calm your fucking tits.
Calm your tits about eating testicles.
I think it's awesome.
I'm cunt a little fucking bitch.
Why are we getting two?
That's anti-feminist in some way.
Can't is a bitch.
Like literally suck my dick.
Absolutely gooped.
Everything is gooped today on the soundboard. So, guiding his subject to remain loyal to what he should be freeing them from. And appearing to believe what he has rejected. What's that called? Lying. Has he become unjust? See, the word justice comes up again. When his efforts should be, so justice would be about being unified with in your soul. How do you become unified? Do the one thing you're here to do. But how can there be one thing to do? Shouldn't we get all the Bugattis and become priest and become president? Do all these many things? Or, if our job is to literally master the logos and free ourselves from the pathologos, A rules B in that extended analogy, the one activity or our method that we also use to understand our dreams, the passageway is the dialectic. So if justice is, to quote this section here, to seek participation in the higher realms of reality, not to manipulate and fuck over people in the physical world to gain profits. If justice is also to have a unified efforts of the soul, not divided. And if justice is also, therefore, doing your job at all times, and our job, number one, our purpose, that is singular, that we can therefore do at all times. You can apply the dialectic to music, to dream work, to reading, etc., to our conversations. That is our passageway to the divine, as we just read here. Therefore, the opposite of all of what this guy is doing, unified, seeking our higher excellence, states of being, can do it at all times, provides a benefit to ourselves and those we do have rulership over, justice. To function through the dialectic at all times, therefore, would be just. Fun?
I think Jesus.
Jesus Christ, Emma.
Emma?
If you're experiencing a mental health episode, making ice cream is a good and correct.
Well, that's not true because I don't think so.
Dead-eyed. And I don't...
Kant would say some fucking bullshit.
Not having luck with my random buttons on my soundboard.
Disgusting. I'm so
disgusted with the soundboard today. Sock, has he become unjust when his efforts should always be to have managed his own life? What have we been saying? Everything we've been using to understand human problems, global problems, and whatever level is an analogy to understand how we have mastership and rulership and leadership over our own soul. So is that the highest application of the dialectic, and why dream analysis is so significant, and why doing the dialectic at all times is so important? His efforts should be to have managed his own life. Thumbs up. And ruled himself. So that in becoming one out of many. Right? One soul, one self, one mind, one activity of the dialectic. When we go through the dialectic, do we use a couple of different examples? Like we've been using the difference between being ruled by the sick. Do we want surgeons like the right wing? So do we want the right wing party to rule society, considering they want to harm everyone for their personal profit, and they have no understanding they're ruled by belief? Do we want doctors to kill their patients for personal profit and have no understanding of medicine, just have beliefs? So, two examples to a principle. What's the principle? The many into one. This is the dialectic. The one principle. We want to be ruled by those who should be in a position of rulership or mastership. Better have an understanding, better not be functioning through beliefs, and better always use that understanding and knowledge of the ideal to benefit the subjects only. Now, from many to one, we can then apply it to what's most significant: our own soul. Therefore, our purpose to be just is to manage our own life, to rule our own self, become one out of many our souls, as souls, minds and self. Has he become unjust when his efforts, says Socrates, where is he? Here he is. Socrates, no, when Sneesius, his efforts should always be to have managed his own life, ruled himself, so that in becoming one out of many, he has become just and beautiful.
Suck my dick.
Oh my goodness.
I think so awesome.
So awesome to be just and beautiful. Right?
I'm always good, and that is what I stand for, being good all the time.
Then you are being just. Becoming just and beautiful. One of those logos terms. In the goodness basketball team. Justice and beauty. By being ruled not by the lesser, belief, pathologos, but by the greater. And how does greater function? Providentially, the dialectic, having a state of mind of the whole, being ruled by the greater, and benefiting the parts, benefiting people who are limited. A ruling B. Analogy and mastership, all the way through. So applied it from one to the many, and then from many to the one, which brings a principle, and applying that principle to what's most significant. Hey Reeve, welcome. Is this the state we know as wisdom? Oh. Since to preserve that inner state, what inner state? Doing your own job, taking care of, ruling your own life, mastership of your own self, by the highest part of the self, the logos and your dream maker, to become one out of many, one activity at all times. To preserve that inner state of oneness takes a knowledge we call wisdom. So wisdom is a knowledge. Interesting. Then he has, and it's a preservative. Wisdom is a kind of understanding and knowledge that we apply to preserve that flow state of being completely unified and doing your job at all, doing your single purpose at all times. So our reading, our learning, be it from the text, from our dialectic midwifery talks, or from our dream analysis, that learning we gain is wisdom that preserves our flow state of justice. Singularly focused, right? When you're in the flow state, you're singularly focused on sinking that three-pointer or sniping that frag in the video game. Is that state that we both know as wisdom, that state of one out of many, doing your job, etc. Then he has we call it wisdom, since to preserve that inner state of justice takes a knowledge we call wisdom. Then he has betrayed the principle of justice. There's our hypothesis. We were aiming for justice, and here it is confirmed to us in our reading. That's why it's important to read these texts. A principle. He betrayed the principle of justice. Justice is a principle that lies at the heart of what it is truly to be human. That flow state of justice, doing our purpose, our job at all times, is what it means to be truly human. Isn't that interesting? It's not just for the special elite few. We can all read this banger book and talk about it. We can all do dream analysis. We can all learn to make use of our thinking and talking and reflecting through the art of understanding. We can all master the dialectic. Therefore, we can all awaken to our purpose and our highest functioning, justice, and what it means to be truly human as well. Wow. Talk about a way of uniting humanity in our highest possible state of being. So if Sneezius isn't doing it by babying people to be polite and nice, the very people who he should be freeing from their beliefs, because it functions to murder people like his own fucking teacher, who they skinned alive for not being a believer and for instead being a profound teacher of understanding. In doing that shit, pretending to be their leader, being polite or nice or treating them like babies, has he betrayed the principle of justice, a principle that lies at the heart of what it is to be truly a human. And has he then, says Socrates, assumed a role? Key word for us, role. Remember? The negative application of the logos, using the causes. A false image of the self that has our way of being paradigmatic cause. So the first cause that manifests our problem is a false image of the self we think is us. That's why we listen to the text to discover the truth about self, and we listen to our dreams. You don't know yourself unless you're free of your ignorance and you've gone through the oxiding pictures. So everyone else motivated by the first cause, a false image of the self that manifests as a model or paradigm through which we act, our state of mind or our beliefs. So pathologos idea of self, pathologos states of mind, ways of being and beliefs, which then you function through that state of mind in a role. I'm always the joker, I'm always the sabotager, I'm always the Cinderella, I'm always the slave, whatever it is that you get from your family. Playing out the activities that we see in our dreams, the drama of our dreams. It has this fake character, image of yourself, certain state of mind you're in a dream, certain role you're playing within that drama that leads to a certain conclusion, blocked. Or dreams can give you the positive, can do both. So, super significant. Good thing we've done all this reflection and drawing on the board. This is a kind of ousia, kind of self-reflection. Reflecting the logos, because it's literally we're using the dialectic. So here it is, the dialectic, dung, 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 which is the structure of the self-logos. So we are being like the self. The self as again, same analogy, as the highest leader or master, creates the second hypothesis being, first hypothesis creates second, that functions in understanding, and that creates our physical world. So in writing, and this kind of reading and reflection and these things we're doing on the board, we're becoming like the self, like the divine, like God. Kind of ousia and logos, but lower down because it's just images on a board. But same principle, right? So, given that, we can recognize the significance of this word role. He has betrayed the principle of justice, a principle that lies at the heart of what it is to truly be a human, and assumed a role antithetical to his own philosophical principles. By lying to be polite or nice or gaining a position of leadership or whatever, for whatever reason you do it, instead of helping people free themselves from the beliefs that they've been trained since childhood to be loyal to, our purpose as human beings is to move from the fourth hypothesis belief to the third understanding. Everyone, yes, even your religion, yes, even your family beliefs, not just the 8 billion other peoples who you can see are crazy. Because here's the thing, no one shares the same religious beliefs as you. Everyone has a different version. So that role of being a liar to be nice or polite, or to gain power over other people, or some position within the church, or position within the family, is antithetical to our own philosophical principles, our own functioning or purpose to free people from beliefs, the dialectic, to help them perfect their understanding through the dialectic and move through the hypotheses and oxiding pictures to reach the triad of the self, first, second, third, knowing of the self, the state of mind of being, and the functioning of themselves as a dialectician, providentially through understanding, by including also the purification of the opposite, belief. Purification of the pathologos, perfection of the logos, he's doing the opposite. He's babying, for whatever reason, the pathologos instead of helping them become free. What does Jesus say to that? You are a hard master, Socrates. Key word, isn't it? Did you see it? Did it jump out? Mastership. You are the master. You're a hard master. You ain't polite. You ain't nice. You're not babying people. You're simply telling the truth in a way that will benefit everyone. It's not being a dick about it. He's not being a bitch about it. Oh, sound drop time.
Well, that's not true because I don't think so.
Right. Not babying people who say, oh, that's not true because I don't think so. What makes you think you should be the master? If you haven't gone through this kind of reading, this kind of dialectic and midwifery, this kind of dream analysis, and move through the ox-herding pictures and hypotheses. Oh, but I want to pretend to be a ruler. Fuck off. You can't walk into a dentist office, ask for some hammers to smash children's faces if you haven't gone through the learning of how to be a dentist. Of course, famously, there's a dentist torture chamber in the Epstein Island where there are the people who've always spent their life claiming to be rulers even though they are the most ignorant. The billionaire and the political and the religious class hang out to torture children in that very fucking way until we wake up to our purpose and not lie, whether it's out of politeness or niceness or anything else, our own pathologos and injustice perhaps, so we can put an end to that kind of disgusting torture, abuse, and murder of our fellow human beings and put an end to our own soul's ignorance. Remember, it's all about our own purpose to manage our own life and gain our own self-rulership to reach our own development. Whether or not we're able to help others, we try our best. But our own development is not contingent upon other people and where they are. Thank God. You're a hard master, says Jesus to Socrates. You judge him to be a traitor to philosophy. And Socrates says, well, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, if the name fits, then that's all we can say. Well, now we need a conclusion, don't we? Yes, there's a need to bring all these ideas and practices together into a unity. Is it likely you will play a role in doing that? Is it likely you will play a role in doing that? Can you bring all of these ideas we've been developing into a unity? How do we bring the many into a unity? One way is analogy. Analogy links the terms of the extremes together in a mean term. We've been seeing the mean term is actually our purpose, the dialectic. The dialectic. Can you use everything you've been learning about the dialectic, its parts, its structure, its terms, and everything that we've been learning in the text and our reflection into a unity through analogy? What's the analogy? Greater is to lesser. A is to B, mastership. A being the logos, B, normally we express it the other way. Like we see this littler, we see like, oh, a shepherd is to a sheep, so we can imagine what it means to be the higher. But we're talking about A is to B because we're talking about mastership. You're a hard master, Socrates, and our job is to master our own soul. So, a huge list. King is to subjects, is to castle, is to carriage, is to warriors, is to merchants, is to the queen, is to the jester, etc., etc., etc. To the jouster. So, as an analogy for, logos is to Socrates, is to Hellenic, is to etc., etc. Justice, all of the terms we've talked about here. Justice, beauty, wisdom, rulership, benefiting. That's all one big mega analogy on side A is to its opposite, or its, what's the word here? Antithesis. So he's giving us the word, he's helping us out, he's directing us to what He's saying, hey, when he says, is it likely you will play a role in bringing it all together? He means you. He's talking to you. He wants you to learn. He wants you to read. Because that's what it means to be a guru. Socrates is a guru. He's helping you learn. Meaning, he can encourage you to do it for yourself. And as we've been saying, we can't make other people learn. But our own soul's development isn't contingent upon the world becoming, awake to their purpose. Thank God. But you can still benefit. You can still do it. He's saying you bring it all together. All of the terms we've gone through, and it's antithetical, antithesis. As the logos is to the pathologos, all of the terms in the logos set is to all of the terms in the pathologos set. There should be a correspondence one-to-one of each of them. And by the way, if you are bringing all of these ideas together, are you yourself becoming one out of many? Is that your business? Is that the effort of your soul? Is that how you rule yourself? Will it bring everything that we've been seeing together into an understanding? And will you be able to get into that flow state, doing your single function, being able to recognize all of the good things inside A and all of the pathologos distractions or counterattacks inside B, so you can approach B analogically to get the clues to solve your puzzle, not literally, while doing side A all the time? Can that put you in a flow state? Unified, doing the single function, your purpose at all times, doing what you're here for, doing what your nature is, doing what your excellence is. Nature, purpose, excellence, all these words are contained within the Greek word justice. So by bringing these ideas together through this analogy, are you bringing the one into many? Are you therefore gaining mastership of your soul? Because you're benefiting your soul, because you're going to bring yourself into that state of flow called justice. But what's different than the one-offs people have, that you've got a name for it, so you can recognize it when you're in that flow state. Oh my fuck, I'm in justice. You can say,
The hell's wrong with you people? Be a reasonable gooner.
I can be a reasonable gooner in that flow state because I know a name for it. It's called justice. And by the way, once you're in that state, there has to be a different kind of a thing to preserve that state. That knowledge that we have been learning through that analogy, wisdom. You can preserve it as you do your intended function. You can, anything that comes up inside B, don't take it literally, write it down, approach it analogically through the dialectic of midwifery, with guidance from your dreams ideally, while also recognizing anything inside A as tops. That could be a kind of knowledge that could preserve the flow state, or wisdom that preserves justice. But hey, you won't know until you give it a try yourself. But also, it's fun. My cadence is loud and measured because there's a lot of ideas and I'm reasoning themselves through myself as I go. And it's pretty fucking cool. Imagine all this. There's a saying in that flow state is so significant in sports that there are lots of quotes from famous coaches over the years. Like, if I could bottle it, I would be a billionaire, that kind of thing. Here it is. Maybe you won't know unless you try. I hope you have fun, because
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike
wonder, dude.
we're having fun. And joy and whimsy and childlike wonder, all of you dudes. Right?
Brain rot escalate.
No.
Absolutely gooped.
No, not good.
Gooners.
No, we're not gooners. Why does my soundboard talk about gooners today? As I find the right button to click.
gooner bait?
Because I'm doing gooner bait.
I'm just asking for some gooner men's skin. It just seems right. It just seems fair.
Why is that fair?
I ate a steak. I'm stupid. I'm drunk all the time, you know. I'm just like you.
Hey, that's not fair.
You can be a gooner.
Just be a gooner. Don't call me stupid.
Honestly, on the real, I say stuff like that because I'm cool.
What sort of stuff?
It's better to come in the sink than to sink in the cum.
That's an interesting principle. If it comes from the oracle, it must be true. Maybe it's a part of justice. Speaking of principles, if it is a principle, and it must be. So, speaking of principles such as that, nonsense one, have a go. The principle of analogy, to bring the principle of wisdom, to preserve the principle of justice, as you follow the principle of your intended functioning at all times, which is following the principle of the dialectic. All of those are principles because they apply to everyone. And hey, as we all have dreams, we can all play as well. We all get guidance in that game. That's for all of us. And by the way, that's called what it means to be truly human. So have a go. See what you come up with. But notice you're doing both. You're doing the big analogy to bring it all together, but you're also, that's the logos, you're also doing ousia. You're reflecting on what it feels like to go through it, what it feels like to carry this understanding with you all day, what it feels like to practice the dialectic at all times. Ousia and logos. That's the dialectic, baby. I hope you're having fun. Banger episode today. Another banger one. Another fire, another one. Thank you for joining me. Follow along if you want to on Discord, Twitch, YouTube. If you want to donate to the channel, that is a huge help. And I'll see you in the next one. Later chatter. And I press the button. Reeve, what's going on? See you in the next one, I said.
Gooner bait.
Gooner bait. It's not working. There we go. Got there in the end. See you next time. Bye.